let's get back with Peter Loubardias, Calgary Flames broadcaster. Moved out here, I didn't know the year, permanently in 2008. Listened to him last night. Let's start with that drubbing last night. Lou, if you don't, 7-1, Flames over the Blues. And we'll talk about all things NHL here and take your questions from the viewers. WHL too. The shots ended up 48-21 Flames in a 7-1 win over the Blues. But as you know, after the second, it was 35-9 Flames. That was one of the most lopsided hockey games I've ever seen in my life, NHL or otherwise.
You are not alone. In fact, the only game I can remember like it was, I think the date was December 16th of 2018. And it was when St. Louis was going through an absolute miserable time prior to the most unbelievable rally that started January the 3rd. And then they ended up going on to win the Stanley Cup, beating Boston in 7 games to do it. But we went into St. Louis and did a game on a Sunday afternoon. And Rod, it was like 4-0 Calgary about 12 minutes in. And you're like, are these guys, like, this is too proud, too good a group to get walked on like this.
Yeah.
And last night took me back, maybe not quite to that level, but it's really the first game that I can remember that took me back to that kind of place. I mean, that's a really good team.
Yeah.
Like, and they're, you know what? I will say this on this show. They will benefit from last night because a little birdie upstairs told me after the second period that, yes, on the surface, the record's good. They're rolling along. They won the night before in Vancouver. Didn't play great. Were outworked. And one of the key people in St. Louis told this person that, you know what? Before the game, not during the game, before the game, that they might be due to get it. Well, they got it. And you
can just sense it has something.
Yeah.
With a team.
You know, that's why they're in those types of positions. And, you know, how many odd man rushes did the Flames have last night? Like, that could not, when I think about the St. Louis Blues, and with this team and their new people, Robert Thomas, Jordan Kyrou now leading the way. Saw Robert, of course, at the Memorial Cup in 2018, just for a little connection playing for the Hamilton Bulldogs. You know, it's a really good team. And everything I think about with St. Louis, hard, heavy, hold the puck, make your life miserable, none of it. None of it last night. And the Flames were ready, and their big people were ready, and they took full advantage of all those opportunities.
Alberta, I hope you're enjoying the Flames talk, because I am, particularly Flames fans. So I got 2 guys I want to bring up.
Yeah.
Jacob Markstrom. I felt like a dolt because after the first period, I tweeted, Jacob Markstrom is proving what $6 million gets you. And then he had 2 shots in the second period. But there was a period in the first period, Lou, where the Blues were coming hard. And he made what I thought were some really tough saves. They got some great shooters on St. Louis.
Oh, yeah.
The game could have changed. To me, Mikko Koskinen and Mike Smith isn't making those saves. They're not.
Except for Saturday night.
Right, notwithstanding.
Yes.
I did talk to the Flames people. They're like, these things happen. They didn't seem to really lose a lot of sleep over that Oilers game, the sense that I got. But I thought Markstrom just held them in it long enough that then they rolled. He's a 6. He was worth the money, I believe.
Well, I think he is. And if you've been around the team, and unfortunately, we're not around the team the same way we once were because not traveling. We don't get access. We don't go in the room anymore. That's all COVID. It's not a complaint. It's just life, like for everybody else. But when they got him, it was pretty apparent to me very early, Roddy, that they were not only getting like a really good goalie, but this guy is as competitive. I truly believe he's one of the leaders of the team. His work ethic is beyond belief. I would say the only thing about Jacob Markstrom that gives him some trouble is that he's so competitive and wants it so bad that some nights, you know how they say your greatest strength or
your biggest weakness.
You know, I know it well, although I'm still looking for strengths. But that's him. So they got like in Tanev and Markstrom, they got way more than just, in my opinion, than a really good goalie and a terrific defenseman.
And so Matthew Tkachuk has 5 assists last night in a 7-1 win over the Blues, one off the franchise record of 6 held by Guy Chouinard and Gary Suter, as you know.
Gary Suter, 1986.
Right. So last night I downgraded my thought of Michael Tkachuk from a jerk to just a pest. Because he's all over Ryan O'Reilly last night, and I'm like, what do you... It's the way he plays, right? I kind of wished O'Reilly would drop his gloves and tune him in, but he didn't.
You know what's funny, Rod, about you saying that? Didn't even notice. No, I'm being
yeah.
And trust me, there's been a lot of nights over the years where you notice. Last night, all I noticed was his great playmaking ability.
His offense, yeah.
But he is just one of those guys, and it's so funny because I worked in Winnipeg, as it turned out, for only 4 months back in 95, 96. And his dad was on the team, and he was 21 years old at the time. And when Matthew came to Calgary, I'm like, this is like deja vu all over again. Just the aura, who he is, how he carries himself, how he goes about his business. And, bottom line, Derek Wills always jokes, our play-by-play guy, the Matthew Tkachuk friendship tour continues, whatever city the Flames are in. And bottom line, he's a guy that you can't stand if you're on another team. And in fact, even for me, who couldn't appreciate, he's one of the smartest, most aware, emotional, informed young NHLers I've ever seen.
I would take him on my team any day.
But was I looking forward to cheering against him just for a week or two at the Olympics? Yeah, I was.
You think it'll ever happen? Are we going to have a World Cup again? Or...
Yeah.
Okay, good.
We will.
From Oleg in Winnipeg says Matt Tkachuk has 50% goodness.
The Canadian side?
I guess so.
I may have said that once or twice myself.
Okay, fair. That's good.
Chantel, his mom, is just a beautiful, beautiful
And she
lady.
says his boys will never fight.
Yeah, that's what she says. And so far, well, the last time they met, the Senators were in town very recently, and Matthew got mad at Brady and took a little shot at him and kind of dung him in a tough area. I like to call it the Caracas, Venezuela. That's about as close as they've been since they were both in the league.
So many viewers want to know what you think the Flames should or will do to add for a cup run.
Well, and I have this discussion every day on my show, or on my hit, not my show, at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And people have talked, and I'm not going to say, Roddy, that I don't think the team couldn't use some more secondary scoring. Probably said that for a long time. Maybe another center iceman, preferably right-handed, giving them another right-handed face-off option, which they don't have a lot of outside of Elias Lindholm. But in all sincerity, the way this team is built, who they have, what their personnel is, I'd be more interested. Let's just use 2 names. I'm not sure Tomas Hertl's going anywhere. With the Kane situation, they're going to have some money. Maybe he just stays in San Jose. But if I had a choice between I'd like both, but if I had a choice between a top-level forward and a veteran, hard-to-play-against defenseman that you could bring in, like a Ben Sherratt, I'm going down that road. Because for this team, when it is successful, it's not about how they score. It's about making life difficult and preventing goals. Their mantra, as much as last night, Tkachuk, Gaudreau, they go off, we even have debates in our room amongst the broadcast crew. And yes, when Calgary scores 3, a lot of nights they win. But for me, the number I look at with this team is 2 or less. When they hold people to 2 or less,
they're winning.
They're winning a lot of games. So I would probably lean more a veteran left-handed defenseman to just give some of the, because it's still a really young core. Anderson just turned 25. Hanifin, what day is today? The 25th?
Yep.
Today is his 25th birthday. Shillington's just 24. Those are good, but they're still young. Tanev is kind of the glue guy that holds it all together. Goodbranson's been a nice fit. Zadorov, great last night. I call it Nikita's world. You never kind of know from one night to the next what you're going to get. But I'd almost handpick a guy like Ben Sherratt if I could find a way to make it work.
I don't think they need a lot. As you know, you and I have debated this. I think they've been good for a long time. They're not that far removed from being number one in the West Conference, as you remember. I think they can do something with this group. I promised before we let you go, we got about 5 minutes left to talk about the Western Hockey League. I don't know if we'll take 5 minutes to do it or not. It's a shame because I'm trying to follow what the Dub's doing. There's postponements left and right. For instance, we were going to go down the road to Medicine Hat tonight to catch the Blade.
Yeah.
And then we find out that's postponed.
Correct.
Connor Bedard's kind of a Ferrari left in the garage right now for the Regina Pats. Did you say you saw him when they came through?
Yeah.
Bedard?
Yeah, I did.
Isn't he something?
Oh, well, it was my first viewing at that point in person, and I was lucky enough to watch him at Team Canada's camp and watch him in a pre-tournament game and then a game on Boxing Day against the Czechs with my own two eyes. You guys have seen him a million times. When I was blown away and I knew this guy was special, as great as it was in the bubble, and it was 28 points in 15, you could see the hands, you could see special, his ability in tight, hands, drag, shoot it. But I love guys who are great on big stages. And when he went to the World Under-18 as a double underage, and threw up 10 points in 3 playoff games. And the goal, I will say this about Connor, the tying goal against the Russians. In the gold medal game, missed the penalty shot, came back next shift, PO'd at the bench, jumps off the right wing side, gets to the inside of the defenseman, top of the circles, backhand, top shelf roof, ties the game, away the good guys go. Is one of the great goals in a Canadian uniform, might be in my top 20 goals all time.
You've been through this enough with the NHL. I feel bad asking you this, but do you think they're going to get the season in? Ron Robinson, the commissioner's vowed to.
Yeah, I think so, Ron. I think so. Will it take an extension? Likely. For the kids, because I love the league with every single ounce of my fiber. It's been hard. It's been hard for the kids. And I just, we haven't had a Memorial Cup or, league champion the last 2 years. So I'm really hopeful.
Well, I think we're at a point, and I say we because, we've worked in the WHL for so long, and I shouldn't speak for the owners and governors, but I think that if they got the regular season in, if they had to go to best of 5s, best of 3s, I think we'd all take that.
Sure.
Right? Yeah, just to get some series in and get some people into the building.
100%.
Yeah.
That's the time of the year. It's the most fun. And even when you think about, Remps and I, the old Silver Fox, a lot of time talking about, obviously, his favorite team, the Warriors, and playoff matchups and who's going to play who. Well, there's nothing, that's what it's all about. And there'd be some great, maybe not great matchups, 1 versus 8 or 2 versus 7 in the East. That looks like it's in pretty good shape for Edmonton and Winnipeg. But in the middle there, that's going to be fun.
I should mention, and this would be a good way to end it, the Regina Pats, God's team, are home tonight to the Prince Albert Raiders. I'd really like to be there to see the tribute to Clark Gillies before the game. Your thoughts on Clarkie?
Well, I'll be as brief as I can. I grew up in Saskatoon. I was a huge Blades fan. And I was 8 years old. And at the Saskatoon Arena, that great team with Eddie Staniowski in goal and Clark and Dennis Sobchuk playing on the same line, Mike Wanchuk go on down the line, our good friend John Hammond. You knew that Clark was incredibly special. And I joke, and I'm not being hard on Blades fans, and I was beyond a huge one my whole life growing up. That Pats team was so good, that series could have gone 3, and it went 4. And then because of all the great players that I watched growing up who ended up on the Islanders from Western Canada, I became a big Islander fan in the mid 70s because I liked Orrin Esposito. They left Boston, long story. But Clark is just as kind a gentleman, like just the big, gentle giant who was a beautiful guy.
Yeah.
A great player, as tough as they came when he had to be. He was a winner through and through in every single aspect of who he was.
Of life, yeah. And it's funny because he didn't like to fight. He told me a million times, but he's like, well, I'm kind of good at it, so I guess I should. Lou, always a pleasure.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This is fun. This is way better in person than it is on the phone.
Yeah, thanks, Lou.
Okay.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for watching the RP Show on YouTube. And don't forget, we're live daily on YouTube from noon to 2 Eastern. If you like what you see, hit subscribe. And if you like the program, check around for other segments of The Rod Pedersen Show here on YouTube.